The story of the Ashkenazi Jews was not merely a small chapter in Jewish history. Rather, it evolved into one of the most prominent features that shaped modern Jewish identity. This story accompanied major transformations in politics, culture, and even in debates surrounding genetics and religious beliefs. But who exactly are these Ashkenazi Jews who today dominate the political and cultural scene in Israel and the United States? Are we dealing merely with a religious group, or are we facing a hybrid ethnic formation that has transcended traditional boundaries? Between the ruins of the Nazi concentration camps and the rise of the Hebrew state, and between the inheritance of the Yiddish language and genetic laboratories, the tale of the Ashkenazim intersects with mysterious and complex trajectories. They claim descent from the ancient Israelites, yet genetic maps tell a different story. They base their identity on a language that has long been abandoned and on a culture that was once exiled, while simultaneously controlling centers of power in the contemporary world. So, are we witnessing the true continuation of a wandering people, or are we seeing the birth of a new identity that was re-engineered in Central Europe? In this video, we will dive deep into the Ashkenazi lineage, from the Torah to the Tatars, from Jewish neighborhoods in Poland to American universities, to uncover the secrets of a community that survived near total annihilation to become a key player in the global power equation. Stay with us until the very end, and don't forget to support us by liking the video and subscribing to the channel so you never miss any new content. The term Ashkenaz has biblical roots, tracing back to a figure named Ashkenaz, who was one of Noah's descendants mentioned in the book of Genesis. Initially, the name referred specifically to this biblical character. However, over time, it gradually became more closely associated with the geography and culture of the Jews who settled in Central Europe. This transformation, from a purely biblical reference to an ethno-geographic term, occurred gradually, and eventually the term Ashkenazi came to denote Jewish communities that had established themselves in regions such as Germany and parts of France, where they formed a distinct Jewish society within those areas. From there, the Ashkenazi Jews began to expand eastward into Eastern Europe, settling in regions such as Poland, Russia, and Ukraine. These areas eventually became the primary centers of the Ashkenazi community. Many historians and researchers note that this group descended from ancient Jewish communities that existed in the Rhine Basin, the area situated between Germany and France. During the Middle Ages, with the increasing religious persecution in these regions, the Ashkenazi Jews started migrating eastward in search of greater opportunities for settlement and safety. These migrations were not merely geographic relocations, they were also responses to economic and religious challenges. Jewish communities in Central Europe faced social and economic restrictions, which pushed many of their members to seek better lives in Eastern territories. It was from this movement that the long journey of the Ashkenazim began, one that would shape their culture and presence in Eastern Europe and transform them into one of the central components of Jewish identity in that region. One of the most prominent characteristics of the Ashkenazi Jews is their unique language, Yiddish. Yiddish represents a distinctive blend of German and Hebrew, with additional elements drawn from Slavic languages. It is written using the Hebrew alphabet, which means that it is not merely a tool for communication, but also a carrier of the Ashkenazi cultural, religious, and literary heritage. During the Middle Ages, Yiddish became a fundamental instrument for transmitting Jewish values, whether through literature, music, or theater. Yiddish was particularly notable for expressing the popular spirit of the people. It was shaped by the local cultures in which Ashkenazi Jews lived across Europe, yet it also retained its Hebrew linguistic and religious roots. In this way, Yiddish functioned as a bridge between the Jewish spiritual heritage and the daily realities of life in the diaspora, reflecting both continuity and adaptation. In the modern era, despite the decline in Yiddish usage among younger generations of Ashkenazi Jews, the language continues to be actively used in many Orthodox Jewish communities, where it is considered a living language. It is employed in religious schools, communal gatherings, and social events. This ongoing use reflects the steadfast commitment of Ashkenazi communities to their cultural and religious identity, even as other Jewish languages that were once widespread gradually disappeared over time. Yiddish is not merely a spoken language, it is an integral part of Ashkenazi cultural identity. It served as a medium to express everyday life, thoughts, and artistic expression. Yiddish literature, in particular, was rich with folk tales that conveyed the experiences, sufferings, and joys of the Ashkenazi people, making it an inseparable component of the literary heritage of Jews in Europe. Ashkenazi culture is also distinguished by a rich artistic and musical heritage, which reflects the spiritual and human depth of this community that lived for long periods in diaspora. Art and music were essential means of preserving Ashkenazi identity and creating connections between different generations, especially amid ongoing suffering and forced dispersal. Music, in particular, played a crucial role in expressing the joy, sorrow, religious aspirations, and social hopes experienced by Ashkenazi Jewish communities. The most prominent manifestation of this heritage is klezmer music, which originated in Jewish neighborhoods in Eastern Europe. Klezmer represents a unique fusion of Jewish religious melodies with European folk rhythms. This music conveyed complex and often contradictory emotions, expressing both joy and celebration on one hand, and grief and longing on the other. Klezmer music was an inseparable part of Jewish celebrations and social events, whether in everyday life or during religious ceremonies. It reflected aspects of popular tradition and symbolized the community's concerns and resilience in the face of the challenges of life in diaspora. In addition to music, Ashkenazi literature written in Yiddish was a vital component of cultural expression. Literature served as a medium for conveying folk tales, religious reflections, and social critiques that mirrored the hardships of the Ashkenazi community in exile. Prominent writers such as Shalom Aleichem and E.L. Peretz developed this literary stream, which was not limited to expressing suffering, but also provided hope and dreams. Yiddish literature acted as a bridge between generations, transmitting cultural and religious values to the next, thereby helping preserve Ashkenazi identity throughout the centuries of diaspora. Ashkenazi Jewish culture is distinguished by a rich heritage of customs and traditions that reflect a long history of life in the diaspora. However, some of these customs are considered controversial, both within the Jewish community itself and by non-Jewish societies. One of the most prominent of these practices is the strict approach to marriage. Some Ashkenazi sects, particularly the more religious ones, prefer that marriages be confined within the Ashkenazi community, emphasizing clear Jewish lineage. This demonstrates a desire to maintain religious and ethnic purity and makes marrying outside the Jewish faith, or even marrying Jews from other sects, socially undesirable. Additionally, many insist that marriages be conducted in accordance with Jewish law, halakha, within a conservative religious setting. As a result, civil or interfaith marriages are often met with strong disapproval. Another notable tradition is the preference in some Ashkenazi communities for consulting Jewish doctors only, driven by shared trust in common religious and cultural values. Patients often prefer physicians who understand their religious background, particularly in cases where faith intersects with medical choices. From an external perspective, this practice can appear insular or resistant to purely scientific approaches. In terms of diet, kosher laws play a central role. Ashkenazi Jews adhere to strict rules, such as avoiding meat that is not ritually slaughtered and following specific dietary practices during certain periods, such as Passover, when ordinary bread is replaced with matzah, unleavened bread. These dietary restrictions can be challenging for some, particularly for those with health issues or difficulty adapting. The Ashkenazi cuisine is also known for its traditional dishes, such as kugel, which often combines unusual ingredients into both sweet and savory dishes simultaneously. Education is another area of controversy. Large segments of conservative Ashkenazi communities maintain traditional religious schools that focus heavily on Torah and Talmud studies while neglecting modern subjects. This approach sparks internal debate between those who wish to preserve religious identity and resist modernity, and those who see the necessity of incorporating contemporary sciences to better prepare for life in the wider world. Even in celebrations, Ashkenazi rituals can sometimes appear unusual to outsiders. During Hanukkah, games like the dreidel are used to strengthen family bonds, but some critics argue that they distract from the deeper religious meaning of the holiday. On Yom Kippur, some sects adhere to extremely strict fasting and complete withdrawal from the outside world, raising discussions about excessive rigor and whether such practices are appropriate in the modern era. In recent years, genetic studies have revealed fascinating results regarding the ethnic origins of Ashkenazi Jews. For a long time, it was widely believed that their ancestry traced primarily back to the Israelites of the Middle East. However, genetic analyses have uncovered a far more complex picture. The genetic makeup of Ashkenazi Jews carries dual signatures, reflecting both Middle Eastern and European influences. This finding illustrates a genetic blend that mirrors the complicated history of this community, shaped over centuries by multiple migrations and interactions with neighboring populations. Studies further indicate that approximately 80% of Ashkenazi maternal lineages originate from European women who converted to Judaism, while paternal lineages often show stronger influences from the Middle Eastern region. This mixture of Eastern and Western ancestry highlights the reciprocal impact between Ashkenazi Jews and the European societies in which they lived. It demonstrates how this community interacted, adapted, and integrated with its surroundings over the centuries. This discovery challenges older notions of Ashkenazi Jews as being culturally or genetically isolated. Instead, it presents a long history of integration and mutual influence between East and West, revealing a community shaped not only by its biblical heritage, but also by centuries of interaction, adaptation, and genetic intermingling across continents. After the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, Ashkenazi Jews became a fundamental part of the political, economic, and cultural structure of the new society. Although their current population in Israel does not exceed 32% of the total Jewish population, their influence has been, and continues to be, substantial in shaping the political, economic, and social trajectories of the country. Ashkenazi Jews have held numerous high-ranking political positions, including the office of Prime Minister and senior security roles. They have also played a pivotal role in the development of academic and media elites, helping to shape Israel's intellectual and cultural landscape. However, despite this clear dominance in various sectors, there has always been internal criticism within Israeli society regarding institutional bias favoring Ashkenazim over other Jewish communities, such as the Sephardim, Jews of Spanish or North African origin, and Mizrahi Jews, Jews from Middle Eastern backgrounds. The debate over the unequal distribution of opportunities and resources between Ashkenazim and other groups has persisted over time, affecting social and political relations within Israeli society. Although some progress has been made in addressing these disparities, the issue remains a subject of ongoing discussion and critique in Israel to this day, reflecting the complex interplay of ethnicity, power, and identity within the country. In the United States, Ashkenazi Jews represent the largest segment of the Jewish community, accounting for approximately 63% of American Jews. They have concentrated in major cities such as New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles, where they have played a central role in shaping cultural and social life. This Ashkenazi community, which began in America as a group of immigrants fleeing religious persecution in Europe, gradually transformed over time into a powerful and influential force across multiple sectors. Over the past 2 centuries, Ashkenazi Jews in the United States have achieved significant success in a variety of fields, including politics, arts, media, and education. They have played an essential role in shaping the image of the contemporary American Jew and have contributed substantially to social and political issues at both the national and international levels. Furthermore, they have been instrumental in supporting the State of Israel in multiple ways, which has influenced American policies toward the Middle East. This transformation, from a marginalized immigrant group to a major social and political force, reflects the ability of Ashkenazi Jews to adapt to new circumstances and thrive in diverse environments. Their achievements have enabled them to build a vast network of connections and influence, solidifying their presence as a prominent and dynamic community within the United States. Despite the historical achievements of Ashkenazi Jews, they face modern challenges today that require constant adaptation. One of the most prominent of these challenges is the threat of the Yiddish language disappearing. Younger generations of Ashkenazi Jews are increasingly less interested in learning Yiddish, placing this unique language at risk of extinction. Yiddish was once a core component of Ashkenazi cultural heritage, but with the growing emphasis on Hebrew or local languages, it has lost much of its prominence in modern communities. In addition to linguistic decline, Ashkenazi Jews face the challenge of balancing traditional Jewish identity with the demands of the modern world. While some strive to preserve ancient Jewish customs and rituals, others feel the need to adapt to globalization and modernity. This creates an internal struggle over how to integrate multiple, sometimes conflicting identities. Another significant challenge concerns genetic health issues. Medical research has identified certain genetic diseases that are more prevalent among Ashkenazi Jews, such as Tay-Sachs disease and BRCA-related breast cancer. This situation has prompted medical communities to place greater emphasis on these conditions by developing targeted early screening programs specifically for Ashkenazi populations. These genetic, cultural, and identity-related challenges form part of a complex modern reality, requiring Ashkenazi Jews to find a delicate balance between preserving their heritage and confronting the demands of contemporary life. In conclusion, the experience of Ashkenazi Jews remains a fundamental element in understanding the complexities of Jewish identity. They have formed a central component of modern Jewish history, contributing significantly to shaping its cultural and social features. Examining their journey is therefore essential to gaining a broader understanding of contemporary Judaism as a whole. And with that, we reach the end of today's video. Don't miss the chance to stay updated with all our latest content. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell so that you never miss anything new.